want to be when you grow up? Now, that's a question we all know, and we probably ask many kids. What do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Who's your hero? And most kids will respond with great enthusiasm. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a writer, a teacher, an actress. Sound familiar? The sky is the limit. And isn't that what we want them to believe? That they can be and do anything that they want? Well, sure, within the constraints of what society says is an appropriate career for a little boy or a little girl. Think about this question. What do you want to be when you grow up? That's a relatively new question for little girls. Just 50 years ago, women could be homemakers, nurses, teachers, or secretaries, and that's it. When I was growing up, I didn't have any idea who I wanted to be or what I wanted to become. The concept of a heroine didn't exist in my neighborhood. While the boys were out dreaming of being firemen and policemen and doctors and lawyers, I didn't have a clue. And I wasn't the only one. Ask any woman of my generation what they wanted to do or who they wanted to become or what career did they want. And while they may say they wanted to be Nancy Drew, most will look at you with a blank stare. We did not have historical or contemporary role models, or at least not female ones. There were no historical or contemporary role models for us, and it brings to the point this statement: you can't be what you can't see. Let me give you a statistic. In the history textbooks today, women make up 15% of the figures. And that percentage is growing at the rate of 1% every 5 years. So at this rate, women will reach parity in 175 years. This must change. Men have had their history for hundreds, if not thousands of years to draw on. Their successes, their defeats, their ingenuity, and their bravery. Women simply have not. For our nation to remain strong, we must draw on the talents of all of our citizens. To do that, our girls must overcome the pervasive gender gaps so that they can become our next CEOs, entrepreneurs, scientists, and senators. They need role models. Mentors are good, but they are not enough. And let me explain why I'm making the distinction. A role model is someone whose behavior or success is something we would like to emulate. And the more closely we can align with that person, the more likely this seems to us. A mentor, on the other hand, is someone who helps us make it happen. It's probably a guidance counselor or a teacher who's walking down the path with us. A role model inspires our passion, the spark that ignites our dreams, and that is critical. Now, I mentioned that there are few women in the history textbooks, but today we have women like Oprah, Sheryl Sandberg, Misty Copeland, Amy Wambach. These women are changing our national narrative about what women can be and do. And they are positive role models for our young women and girls, showing them how they can achieve their goals. So is it just possible that this generation of young women is the first who can be what they want because they can see who they want to become? Let me give you further evidence of that. More women are pursuing bachelor's and master's degrees in our colleges and universities than men. And the number of women-owned businesses has mushroomed. In the last 17 years, it's grown by 68%. These are indicators that we are making real progress in closing this gender gap. But a cautionary note. When women have success in one area, it does not necessarily mean it's going to spill over into other areas. So, an example, in championship tennis, the female players have succeeded in being paid equal prize money as the male players. The other hand is that the women on the U.S. soccer team, a world championship team, were paid 40 times less than their male counterparts. Jennifer Lawrence isn't the only one looking for a pay raise. And there are other areas where we still have a ways to go. In a recent study of high school and college students, it was the young men who expressed their interest in pursuing a public office. Then it comes as no surprise that only 1 out of 5 seats on Capitol Hill is occupied by a woman. That makes for a very large chamber of a lot of men. Another place we're going to find a lot of men is in our corporate boardrooms. Of the Fortune 500 CEOs, only 26 are women. And women are greatly underrepresented in the media. In 2014, men anchored 2/3 of the evening news broadcast, while only 1/3 of the staff positions were occupied by women. And men were far more likely to be interviewed by top-tier news media outlets, except when the interviewing was done by a woman. Some of these statistics haven't changed since we left the 20th century, and that alone is staggering. So women are underrepresented in our legislature, in our boardrooms, and in the media. Where do we go from here? How do we bring about change? And it takes me to our answer. You can't be what you can't see. You can't be what you can't see. Here I am, all dressed up, ready to take my place on the stage of life. No clue where I'm going. What would I tell this young girl today? I would say, one day you will do something you didn't dream was possible. Now, a role model would have been helpful. It would have saved me many years of meandering at a time when I could have been locked on and shooting for a star. We need to promote stories of women in our media, in our workplace, in our schoolrooms. Stories about pioneering women, like Deborah Sampson, a young woman during the Revolutionary War who felt so fiercely about our nation's independence that she dressed as a man so she too could fight. And Elizabeth Blackwell, who overcame extreme prejudice to become the first woman to graduate from a medical school. And we have contemporary women, Marissa Mayer, a self-described geek who has risen to become the CEO of Yahoo. Sally Ride, our first American woman in space. And Indra Nooyi, who started school in India, overcame enormous cultural changes, and became the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And we need to seek role models for women who are in fields where they are greatly underrepresented. The role models are there. We just need to find them. The National Women's History Museum provides hundreds of stories of amazing women, past and present. Let these stories ignite your passion for what you can be and do. The history of women and what they have done is as important to us as the women in our midst, our mothers, our sisters, our friends, our colleagues. All of these women demonstrate women's profound impact on our world. I invite you to share the stories of women, past and present. There is magic in the telling.
Thank you.